I did not walk out of yesterday's game feeling like the 49ers gave it to them, choked, whatever, any more than the Chiefs did in the other direction. The Chiefs could, Richie James, you could argue, was still on the Niners. He fumbled the ball more than half the times that he was out on the field. Pacheco fumbles in the red zone. Pat turns it over. The holding penalty in overtime. All kinds of mistakes. So, look, I don't know, man. I have a hard time saying Mahomes is the best player in the league and then feeling like the 49ers overwhelmingly, quote, should have won the game. They could have. Yeah, the opportunities were there.
Not overwhelmingly. And I look at the first half. I look at the McCaffrey fumble on a drive that would have resulted in points, most likely 3, possibly 7. They were on the move, hot knife through butter. And I look at a first half where your defense was dominant. You had Patrick Mahomes flummoxed. You had Travis Kelce pushing Andy Reid. You had the Chiefs not only on their heels, you had them on the run. And you look up at the scoreboard and you're up 10-3. Part of that was ineffectiveness on third down. Part of that was the fumble. Part of it, in my opinion, was Kyle Shanahan not using his timeouts to try to get the ball back when you had the momentum. At that point, I thought, geez, if there was no scoreboard, it felt like they should have been up 17-3. Maybe not 21-3, but it felt like they should have had a bigger lead at the half. And when they didn't, that's the part that makes me think that they let this get away.
Yeah. There's no arguing could have. The opportunities presented themselves, and they were not quite able to do enough with it. Opportunities presented themselves to the Chiefs as well, and they largely were not able to do a whole lot with it until the end. I mean, that's the one thing that sticks out to me about Patrick Mahomes is that overtime drive. Think about this now. Every 49er fan was like, oh no, he's going to go on a touchdown drive. Yet, for 4.5 quarters, he had not yet. Not once. Nope. They scored 1 touchdown, and it was a 1-play drive in the red zone. The 49ers didn't allow Patrick Mahomes to go on a full length of the field touchdown drive the entire game until that. And that just speaks to who he is. It speaks to who he is. He's the Michael Jordan of the NFL right now. And it's a problem. He is incredibly difficult to beat.
Yeah. And
ask
you have to
ask Lamar, ask Josh.
Sure.
Ask them all.
You have to, Tua, when you have a chance to put him down, way down, you got to do that. And I thought Kyle Shanahan left some opportunities out there in terms of going for the jugular, including in overtime where you take the ball first and you get the 3. And even though he hadn't driven his team down yet for a touchdown drive, as you mentioned, I felt for sure that Kansas City would at least get 3. And then as that drive was unfolding, 4th and 1 converted, 3rd and 3 converted, 3rd and 1 converted, converted. Big holes. Niners tried to, they brought 7 on a play. He beat it. They brought 4. He ran for 20-something yards. It just felt like a fait accompli the more that drive was going on.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, there is nothing more uncomfortable in the NFL as a fan than sitting down to watch football and hoping that Patrick Mahomes doesn't move the ball down the field. There's nothing more uncomfortable. And he's gotten them all. And like yesterday cemented it. Don't you think? It's a dynasty. This is a dynasty.
Oh, yeah. And it's not over yet, according to Mahomes.
Not even close.
And they are favored to three-peat, which is something that no one has ever done in the Super Bowl era.
And I really thought, I said it, I really thought this team would not even be in the Super Bowl. I did not think I certainly didn't think they would win the Super Bowl. And I was completely wrong about that. They found a different muscle in January, which is really impressive.
Think about it.
This is not a team that was dynamic offensively all year.
Right.
And for Patrick, he had a bad year. And then the playoffs start, and he goes Dolphins, Bills, Ravens, Niners, and only one of them was at home. One of those 4 games.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It's impressive.
It's unbelievable.
It's impressive. And you think about it in terms of what this team has become. They traded Tyreek Hill who is arguably the best receiver in football. And since they made that trade, they got a bunch of picks. They've won back-to-back Super Bowls without the best receiver.
Without any receivers that you would write home about.
Right.
I mean, Rashee Rice is a nice young player. Last year, Juju Smith-Schuster already on the backside of his career. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore, Justin something.
Yep.
Whoever the hell I mean, it's a very Tom Brady-esque deal here.
Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, Mecole Hardman, who was on the Jets at the beginning of the year. And they traded to bring him back, and he ends up winning the Super Bowl with it. I mean, it's very Tom Brady. It's very Tom Brady.
Kadarius Toney, healthy scratch.
Healthy scratch.
Ouch.
Unbelievable.
Would have loved to see him out there yesterday.
Robin Concord, that might have helped. Robin Concord here on Willard and Dibs. Hey, Rob, what's up?
Hey, gentlemen, how are you two doing? I know that's a silly question, but...
Yeah, not good. Not good, Rob.
I know. Silly question, right? But what I really think is something to look at, aside from everything that's been mentioned, and it's just going to sound like a broken record from now until the start of next season, is, the missed opportunities that the 49ers had. And those turnovers that the defense were able to create, and the 49ers coming up with nothing on a scoring or having no points come from them, that you just can't have that. And Mahomes and the Chiefs, they capitalized, unfortunately. Late in the game, like you said, when it mattered, that's when they showed up even more. And Kyle, unfortunately, did not have, I think, the best game plan set up for that moment. And again, it just seems like Kyle second guesses himself or gets into his own mind. And it's just a repeat of other games where it's very close, or there's a little bit of conservative from Kyle. But really quickly, the other part of this that I want to say is, as well as Brock Purdy played, and this young man being the quarterback for the 49ers, and from the last Super Bowl that the Niners had in 2019, a lot of these players are now 5 years in. A lot of them have their contracts, but what do you gentlemen think about what is the longevity? How many opportunities do we really think the 49ers are going to have? Hopefully a couple more in terms of Super Bowl visits, but the reality is we know that free agency, they're going to lose a couple of players this season, and what can they go and get hopefully in the next season in terms of personnel? Thank you.
Yeah, Rob, thanks. I firmly believe that this roster is going to be very good for at least 2 more years. And then comes the question, I know it's after next season, but what do you do financially with Brock Purdy? What's the situation? For those of you who are worried about Brock's money, well, then yesterday was a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, save some money, right? Now you can go get a linebacker,
sure,
or whatever. I mean, and
I was wrong. They do have their first-round pick, so they'll be picking 31st.
Okay,
which is again not great in terms of getting a tackle, but you need offensive line, and unfortunately, you probably will need another linebacker.
Yep.
Although Oren Burks has been good, and you got Flanagan Fowles, and you do have some pieces there, but you probably need some depth, and you're going to lose some free agents. I know on the defensive line, you got a bunch of guys who are coming up.
Although they're not losing any of the centerpiece people, and I do think that Brandon Ayuk is going to get paid. The Greenlaw thing's tough. You can't just go find another Dre Greenlaw because you want to. So that's going to be very, very difficult to deal with. But the roster is still going to be really good. But a good roster doesn't guarantee a trip to the Super Bowl either. That's why it's so devastating. That's why you hear what those guys say yesterday. It's like everything has got to go perfect. It's such a long haul to get to this point, and think how close they were, how many different times for not making it. The Packers game, the Lions game, anything in the regular season. They were very, very close to not even making it this year. And then you make it, and then you've got a lead in the fourth quarter, and it goes away. So it's absolutely heart-wrenching. Let me ask this, though, because I keep hearing people say this, and I'll ask it right after I tell you that you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Smart choice for low auto loan rates and super simple online application process. I can tell you this. I hear this a lot. I don't agree with it. The idea that Kyle Shanahan overthinks or second guesses himself. It's an interesting criticism because when you hear what he said after the game yesterday, he's like, what I regret when games don't go well is if I go out there and I get away from the game plan. And we had a plan, and then in the moment I go, let's try this, and it doesn't work. He goes, that's when I get upset at myself. He says, we didn't do that yesterday. We had a plan. We liked the plan. We stuck to the plan, and it almost worked.
Yeah.
But it didn't, and I don't think, for me, I don't think it came down to the plan. I think it came down to execution on certain plays.
Yeah, I mean, the plan, you can like it or dislike it, and I think that part of the plan was to get Christian McCaffrey the ball a lot. He got the ball 30 times. There was times that I wanted him to run it even more than they did. And the plan is maybe not the approach that I sometimes take issue with, and that is his clock management. When you let the clock run, you're on defense, and you let Kansas City be in control of the clock as opposed to using your timeouts, forcing their hand a little bit to make sure you get the ball back and you get an opportunity to try to score again. It's a philosophical thing that Kyle Shanahan believes in that I don't agree with. And that's just part of the deal being a 49er fan is you're not going to love everything that your coach does. And the way Kyle goes about managing the clock is something that I don't agree with, but that's just the way it goes. When he's your head coach, you know he's going to be conservative in that way.
888-957-9570. Let's keep rocking. Steve's down in Southern California. Hey, Steve, what's up?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Mark, I agree with a lot of the points you made. There's a lot of people trying to get to the heads of the players and Kyle Shanahan and things of that nature. But let me offer you guys something about this season that is absolutely true. In games where the Niners scored 25 points or more, they were undefeated in all of those games. In games where they scored less than 25, they were 1-6. The only game that we won where we scored less than 25 was the Green Bay game in the divisional round, and that was an average defense at best. The Niners had difficulty grinding out games. In that 3-game losing streak against the Rams in the final week of the season, which didn't count all that stuff, but if the Niners are going to advance to that elusive next level that seems to be eluding them at this point, they have got to build a team that can grind games out when things aren't going as well offensively as they normally would. And that starts with the offensive line being a better pass blocking unit along with the run blocking that they're capable of doing and going from there. But that's the thing with the Niners this year. They had trouble grinding games out where offensively they were not firing on all cylinders like we saw so many times during the season and against Detroit in the NFC Championship game.
Steve, it's interesting because, and thanks, you look at the defense from 4 years ago and a Jimmy Garoppolo-led team, and the 49ers were trying to beat you that way. They wanted to beat you 23-20. They wanted to beat you 20-17. And now apparently that's the game that they can't win. Well, if that's the case, then that means something is different on the defense, which is hard to say on this day. I think it's a fair point. It's hard to say on this day. For the majority of the game, the 49er defense was fantastic. They weren't in the end. I told you all week that 24 was the magic number. Whoever got there was going to win. Whoever didn't was going to lose. I didn't think it was going to take a fifth quarter in order to do that. But I can't argue with a defense that holds Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to 19 points in regulation, and then you need a whole nother quarter in order to get to 25. However, the other point remains, which is that when the 49ers only score 17 or 20 or 23, I mean, that defense used to be able to handle a game like that. And this year they couldn't. They were giving.
Well, yesterday they couldn't, and it's in large part because of who they played.
Yeah. But they couldn't against P.J. Walker a number of weeks ago either.
Yeah.
When they had 17 on
and
the board.
Kirk Cousins.
Right.
And then Joe Burrow, who was perfect for the most part in that game. So those are games that the defense, too, at the time was playing much better than we thought. And then yesterday they came out and the defense was dominant in the first half and even in the first 3 quarters. And you lose Dre Greenlaw, and you had a couple of other injuries on the defensive side, and that absolutely changed things, I think, for you yesterday.
888-957-9570. We keep it going again for you to vent, for you to blame, share your experience yesterday, whatever it is. Keep the calls coming. That's what we're doing today. You're our only guest, 888-957-9570. Son in Concord. What's up, son? What are you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. Well, no, we're terrible, but anyway, yeah. Go ahead.
I have the hangover too. I'm pissed off with Kyle. Anybody who says that Kyle deserves more time, his time was yesterday. I'm sorry, his time was yesterday. Being conservative and going for the field goal on 4th and 4 in the overtime in the Super Bowl, instead of going for it, because you know Mahomes is going to get a touchdown. You know he's going to get a touchdown. You got to at least get one. You got to get the touchdown, see what Mahomes can do after that.
Son, I don't know, man. So you're suggesting that at 4th and 4 in overtime, you're the first team to touch the ball inside the 10. You're going for it.
I mean, I would.
You don't get it. You don't get it, and all Mahomes needs is a field goal to beat you.
Yeah, no, that you're right. You're right on that. But if you're gonna go for it, you might as well go for it.
Here's my issue with this, son. Appreciate the call.
Thank you, son.
I get it. But here's my issue with this. My issue with this is the concept that it's like give up. Patrick's scoring a touchdown, yet he hadn't the entire day. I understand he's the dude. No one's questioning that. And I was terrified of it as well. I'm not saying I don't get it, but I don't think you can coach that way, can you? Can you coach with just the assumption in overtime there is zero chance that we stop Patrick Mahomes from scoring a touchdown?
No, but
I don't think you can play that way, man.
I'm with you, son, in terms of the approach, only if you get the ball second in overtime, because then you know exactly what you need. Then you can go for it on 4th down. When you get the ball first in overtime, in that spot, 4th and 4, you can't go for it there because of what you're saying. So you go for it, you don't get it. Now Mahomes just needs a field goal, and you lose the game. So if you get the ball second, then you can be that aggressive, and you'll have to go for it. If Mahomes gets a touchdown and it's 4th and 4, well, now it's pretty clear in terms of what you're going to do and how you're going to approach it. But that's not what Kyle Shanahan does. Kyle is more conservative, so he would rather get the ball first, and he's thinking already about the 3rd possession in overtime, which never happened.
But I think you have to.
See, I disagree with that.
Play that out. Play that out. Patrick gets the ball first. They go score a touchdown.
Yep.
And I know we've talked this out to where you say you'd go for 2. Niners go down the other way. They know they need a touchdown. They get it. They kick the extra point.
Fine.
You're tied. Now it's sudden death. Mahomes goes 30 yards. Butker hits a 52-yarder and wins. I think Kyle gets torched. Torched today.
No worse than he is today.
Oh, I think so.
I disagree.
So. You can't give Pat if that's how you feel about
Pat the ball, knowing that all he needs is a field goal to prolong the game, and he marches all the way down and scores a touchdown, and you don't get that 3rd possession that you so were coveting.
Yeah, but that's prolonging the game, not ending it.
He ended it last night.
Well, I understood that.
Yeah.
I understood that. But I'm talking about the potential for the 3rd possession, the sudden death. If everybody feels the way they seem to about Pat, which is just shrug your shoulders, it's over. He's going to score every time he touches it. If you feel that way,
which he didn't do.
He did. He did. In overtime, yes, he did.
The only time he touched it in overtime, he scored. Well, then give it to him first. That way you know what you need to do, and you can match it.
And even if you do it, then he beats you anyway on the next possession.
You have the chance to go for 2.
Yeah,
you have the chance to control your own destiny.
That one I accept.
You do it this way, and it's conservative, and it drives me crazy.
So play that out. You give Patrick the ball first. He gets the touchdown. Niners now know they need a touchdown. They come down. They get it. They go for 2.
Oh, yeah.
They don't get it. Torched.
disagree.
Torched.
At least he went for it. At least he would, put it all out there on his shield instead of you get the ball first and you go down the field 4th and 4. Well, we're going to send out the kicker because we want the 3 here.
26-19 if Brendel doesn't blow an assignment.
Yeah, this is not about blown assignments or blown calls.
This is about me.
Well, to me, the conversation is about the approach. The philosophical approach of Kyle Shanahan is conservative, and that's the way he approaches it, and it drives me crazy.
Really quickly,
yeah.
What if it wasn't 4th and 4? What if on 3rd down, instead of throwing, they ran it, got 3 yards, it's 4th and 1? Do you go for it then?
I might have.
Same thing at the end of regulation, 3rd and 5.
A yard's different. A yard's different.
Honestly, watching it live, I wanted them just to run it twice. And if you get in 4th and 2 or inside, go. If it's 4th and 3, 4th and 4, I'm kicking.
And keep in mind that McCaffrey was not going anywhere.
Wasn't great, but
it was not like they were ready for that. They were going to make someone else beat them. I hear you. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff you can do there. But I mean, I feel like that's kind of what I'm getting at. All the different scenarios that we're painting there, if any one of them doesn't go right, Kyle gets torched. He got to pick one. Well, you got to do something.
You get torched anyway if you're Kyle Shanahan and you lose the Super Bowl.
Do you really think he's getting torched today?
Yeah, absolutely. Read the YouTube comments.
That's YouTube.
We had a caller saying, you've had callers say they want him out.
Right. And
that, to me, is getting torched.
And they're wrong.
Of course, but you're asking if he's getting torched,
no,
and
but
he's getting torched.
He's not getting torched by, you know what I mean? The decision makers, the people who matter. We're a sports radio show.
Of course not. The decision makers, it's Super Bowl or try again. They gave the guy an extension.